Hey guys, what's up, it's iFlynn here, and today I'm going to be showing off my Umbral Gara build. Now, Gara is not one of the frames that would instantly jump to your mind when you thought to yourself, hey, I want to make a Umbral build for one of my Warframes, right? The frames that kind of come to your mind are frames like Anaros or Nidus or maybe even Korra. Basically frames that benefit from having, a lot of health, a lot of power strength, and a lot of armor all in one. On this build, I'm not running Umbral Fiber, but I am running Umbral Vitality and Umbral Intensify, which is going to increase my health and also the stats of a lot of my abilities. Now, I play Gara a lot differently to how other players play Gara, because not a lot of players know that Gara is actually more of a low-level nuker frame, okay? And whenever I say low-level, I mean like you're talking maybe swordy level content, because I would kind of consider that low level. Like, I'm not considering that like super high level, like level 1000 enemies or anything like that there, like I've been doing over the past week in my live stream. She's one of the frames that you would use if you're just casually playing and you want to kill a lot of guys, but also be a multi-purpose frame, right? So, she's, in my opinion, one of the frames that I would take into public groups a lot, because like she can just basically do almost everything. She can give damage reduction, she can be a defensive frame if you go ahead and hold down your 4, so enemies will have to break this glass to kind of get in. And then you can also be a nuker frame or just a straight up damage dealer with your 1, right? So you can kind of nuke everything with your 4 and your 1 combined, and then that's also going to increase the damage that you're doing with your second ability as well, which you can refresh by going ahead and casting your 4 again, right? So yeah, she's a pretty good frame. A lot of her abilities work in synergy with one another, but the thing is, with this build, you're not going to be getting that much of an increase to all of these abilities, right? So it's like very negligible increases to, let's say, maybe the health of your prism right here, or the damage of your 2, or the damage of your 1, or the damage of your 3, and stuff like that. So for a newer player, this type of build isn't really worth it, right? You are getting higher health, you're getting higher power strength, therefore you're dealing more damage and stuff like that. But is it really worth the amount of Forma that you're going to be investing to make this build? In my opinion, it's really not. But if you're a player who has endless Forma, endless Platinum, and you know how to make your own build and put it together and stuff like that, this is the type of build that I would be going for as a player who kind of has nothing else better to do in Warframe type of thing. So, if you want to go ahead and make an Umbral build, go for it. If you don't have the resources to do so, don't do it. Choose your favorite frame, make an Umbral build for it if it uses Steel Fiber, Vitality, Intensify, and then just go for it. Because I've seen a lot of comments being all like, well, why would you do this? And it's just like, can we not just play video games for fun anymore? Like, I don't know. So, if you don't have the resources to do it, go ahead and put together a build that looks like this. Obviously, Forma it a lot less. You're not going to need all of these polarities that I have right now. So, throw on a D, throw on a V, throw on a dash, and then throw on another V, and then you should be good to go. Like, that should be enough to fit all of those mods on. But, yeah, if you want to make an Umbral Gara build, then here's an Umbral Gara build you can copy, and this is basically going to increase the amount of damage that most of your abilities deal. So on our 1, we have 1.7k, and then our Splinter Storm, we have damage per second of 543. We have a damage multiplier of 1.76. We have a damage of 1.7k on our 3, and then an area damage of 3.2k on that as well. And then on our Mass Fortify, we're getting more health on it, so we have 4.8k, and then we have a damage bolter of 2 times, and then explosion damage of 1.7k, and that is pretty much it. And if we swap over to the regular build, you're going to see how these stats kind of compare. Now, I'm not going to be able to remember all of these off by heart, but we have 1.6 on our 1, and then we have 500 damage per second on our 2, with a damage multiplier of 1.7. Of course, that's increased by a very tiny amount on the Umbral build. We have the Spectronage, which is our 3. We have 1.6 damage on, or 1.6k damage on that, along with 3,000 area damage. And then on our Mass Fortify, we have 4,450 health, and we have explosion damage of 1.6k. So the health on our Umbral build, which is something that I would pay a lot of attention to, is 4.8k. So you're getting a pretty hefty health increase there from what did I say it was it 4.3k, the 4.8k? Let me just go ahead and double check. So 4.4k to, let me see, whoop, to 4.8k. So that's a pretty hefty increase to your health on your Mass Fortify, which in my opinion, as a player who plays Gara in Void Relic missions or lower level content, you know, that extra 400 odd health is very worth it, right? Because that's the difference between your Mass Fortify going down and the Mass Fortify staying up, so you can get more damage off whenever you're using it to nuke, right? So keep in mind that whenever you're casting Mass Fortify, it's also going to scale with the enemies that it brushes over, right? So if you go ahead and you brush over a bunch of enemies with your Mass Fortify, I should actually go ahead and make myself invincible here. There we go. And we should probably simulate these guys again. Didn't mean to kill them, but yeah. If you use your Mass Fortify, you can brush over the enemies to give it even more effective health, right? So here we go. And you see that we had 250k on the Mass Fortify there. These enemies are going to be slowed down. And the Mass Fortify is going to have a lot more health than it would if we didn't, you know, go ahead and brush over those enemies. So you can see that this glass shard is like pretty much nowhere near breaking because of the amount of enemies that we brushed over, right? So these are level 155. These are basically like higher than Swordy level enemies. But like I mentioned beforehand, you're not going to be wanting to take Gara into something like a level 100 defense or something, because that's just not worth it. Not to mention that we have 1 or 2 enemies shooting at this glass shard right now, not the entire 20 enemies that I have spawned in. If we had all 20 enemies in shooting at this this glass spear right here, or this glass prism, whatever you want to call it, this thing would go down a lot faster. And those enemies are going to be spawning in at a much faster rate, and they are going to be all dealing damage to your big cylinder all at the one time whenever you're playing something like an Orokin defense or something. Not to mention, you also have things like nullifiers, which are going to take these down as well, which is just going to be overall kind of not that good. So we're not doing a lot of damage to these guys because these guys have a lot of armor, but whenever it comes to squish your enemies, like lancers or enemies that don't have armor, or maybe just not a lot of shields, you're more or less going to be one-shotting with your Mass Fortify plus your 1 combo. And on top of that, you can also keep on refreshing your 2 with your 4 to deal a lot of damage with the glass shards kind of like rotating around you, right? So the more that you keep on refreshing it, then the more damage you're going to deal, right? So you just keep on refreshing and then using your 1 outside it, and then, you know, keep on doing to do like so. And then you're going to get a lot of damage on the bad guys, and then a lot of damage on your glass shards just by doing that combo over and over and over again. And then just standing beside the enemies, and you can see that the numbers have increased. We're now dealing 1.7k per tick whenever we're standing near these guys. Go ahead, break it again, and we're dealing 2.1k. 4, go on the outside, and then break it with your 1, and then you see we're dealing 2.6k. So yeah, you just keep on doing that, and because you have that higher base power strength with the Umbral build, then, you know, it's just going to scale a lot better, kind of. Like, it's going to take less time to get to a higher number. Even though it's a very slight increase, you know, it's still an increase that's there and makes it so that you get to higher damage numbers a lot faster. And kind of just makes scaling with Gara a little bit easier, just a tiny bit. But like I mentioned, it's really down to the player if that is worth the forma. So like I said, if you're a newer player, Umbral builds are 110% not for you. If Gara is your favorite frame, if you like Gara and you're a frame or a player who has a lot of forma just lying around, go ahead, you know, just make an Umbral build, because the stat increases, they definitely help. You know, there's no downside to it apart from the fact that you just spend a lot of forma, and it in a way kind of locks down your builds because you have a lot of polarities. But I've kind of noticed that whenever I'm making a build for, like, let's say, I don't know, EV Trinity, right? There's maybe 1 or 2 mods that I can't fit on, and it usually happens to be my X-List mod, which I can't fit on. But the rest of the mods that I'm throwing on, are pretty much fine, and I can make like Umbral versions of my Eevee build and my Blessing build, right? Like I showed in my previous what's it called? My previous Umbral Trinity video, which I'll have linked in the description or on screen or something, so you guys can go ahead and click on it and check that there out if you're interested in seeing even more Umbral builds. But yeah, this is just one of many Umbral builds that I'm going to be uploading to the channel. Like I said, I'm going to be doing these like maybe once every week or twice every week or something, just to put something out there, kind of. So Umbral Nidus, Umbral, and Naros are definitely things that I have lined up, but there's also other frames that I want to be taking a look at, such as Saren and what else? Saren, Mirage, Valkyr. I already have a Valkyr one. I kind of want to do more on Korra as well, because I have one made for Korra, maybe Mag. You know, I don't know. Nova would be an interesting one. There's a lot of different frames that would benefit from Umbral builds, and it would just be really awesome and really cool to kind of have it and see what different type of builds that you can throw together, and maybe kind of open up some more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for here? Diversity in builds, because like, I don't know, being able to mod for a little bit more duration or range on Nova could really make the world of difference if you only have to use like Umbral Intensify, right? Because then you don't have to use Pyre Drift to hit the 145%, what's it called? The 145% Pyre Strength, I want to say cap, but minimum threshold that you would need to get the 75% slow on your M Prime, right? So that's something which we could definitely do. So I'll make the Nova one next. I'll focus on leveling Nova in tomorrow's stream, and then the Nova Umbral video will be the next one, I guess. So then you can kind of see how just one or two Umbral mods can heavily affect the build and how you can kind of change things up. But other than that, guys, that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.